Hello and welcome to Pre-Algebra with Miss Betsy. Today we are going to be talking about how we write percents as decimals, how we write decimals as percents. I'm using as my text for today's video Pre-Algebra for Christian Schools. It's published by Bob Jones University Press. I'm using the first edition. And I just dropped my lame joke. I'll pick it up and we'll go right on with what we're doing. Which one are we at now? Why did the house go to the doctor? Well, he went to the doctor because he had window pains. So, let's go ahead and pick right up on this lesson. I think many of you are probably familiar with this already, but it's still very straightforward how you write decimals as percents and how you write percents as decimals. Just going to simply illustrate for you the relationship, the general relationship between percentage and decimals or percent. Let's say that we have 54%. We learned that percent means per 100, so you can write 54% as a fraction or ratio over 100. And you drop the percent sign, because 54 over 100, 54 divided by 100, 54 per 100 means 54% per 100. There's percentum from the Latin. And there's another way that you can write 54 over 100. If you read that, that is 54 100ths, isn't it? And you know that you can write this as a decimal by saying 0.54. Now, why did we write the 0? We wrote the 0 before the decimal point, so you have a screaming, flashing light that says, oh, this number here is less than 1. Then we remember from when we're naming numbers that we read the number 54 and we call the last place that we have named here. We have tenths and hundredths, so this is 54 hundredths. So you see that there is a way, 3 different ways that you can write the same quantity. You can express it 54%, 54 over 100, or 54 hundredths. And if we wanted to change a percentage to a decimal, there are 2 simple, straightforward steps that you use, and I'll even write them down for you. To change a percent to a decimal, a percent to a decimal. 2 steps. These are written in your book. I'm going to go ahead and glance at them right now myself. It's real easy. What did we do? Writing from a percent to a decimal, we did something with the decimal point. The decimal point right here would have initially been directly after the 54. You just don't see it because it's a whole number. And what did we do with that decimal point? We moved it 2 units to the left, or 2 places to the left. Move the decimal point 2 places to the left. Move it 2 places to the left. We've added that 0 to indicate that we have a number less than 1. And then what did we do? Well, we very simply dropped the decimal point, the decimal sign. Can't believe I said drop the decimal sign. We dropped the percent sign. Drop the percent symbol, which of course is that. That is all that is involved in changing a percent to a decimal. They have a couple of examples in your book. We'll take the time to go over them. Write each percent as a decimal. We have 73%, we have 5%. How are we going to do 73%? What do we need to do? It says, okay, move the decimal point 2 units or 2 places to the left. And drop the percent symbol. That is all there is. For clarity, put a 0 before the decimal point. Now, what are we going to do, however, if we have 5%? We want to move that decimal point 2 units to the left, 2 spaces to the left. So we go 1, oh, there's not a space here. Add a 0 if necessary. 5% is 5/100ths, or 5/100, so this is 5%. The thing that kids and adults really trip up when they're first learning how to change from 54% to writing 54% as a decimal is they like to go ahead and keep this little percentage here. These are not the same. This is a fractional percentage and is some teeny, 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 tiny little piece. Decimal percent typically doesn't go together in pre-algebra, algebra 1. Though you can have a decimal percentage, it's a very, very tiny amount. And they're just trying to get you to understand that 73 with the percent symbol can be written as a decimal number 73/100ths, 5/100ths. They're trying to make sure that you understand that percentage can be expressed as a fraction over 100, can also be expressed as a decimal number. Now, however, what would happen if we changed our problem just a little bit and we had a fractional percent? For example, I'm going to use what we have here in the book. It is 3.5% that we wanted to write as a decimal. What are we going to do? 3.5% as a decimal. The first thing that we're going to do is write 3.5 in decimal notation. We don't want that 1/2 there. What is 1/2 the same as? It's the same as 0.5, isn't it? 1/2 is 1 divided by 2, which is 0.5. So now we have rewritten our percentage where we're not using a mixed number, where we're using a decimal number. We want to be able to write 3.5% as a decimal. So once we've got to where we have a decimal number to begin with, when we have a fractional percent, now these two rules could kick in. We're going to move our decimal place, decimal point, 2 spaces to the left. There's 1, 2. And then we drop the decimal sign. So 3.5% is 0.035 or 35 thousandths. 300ths, okay, and 5 thousandths. I'm sorry, yeah, 300ths. Okay, 35 over 1,000, 0.035. So what do you do if you have a decimal number that you change to a percentage? Well, we're going to do that next. But let me pick one final example here where we have a fractional percentage. Let me pull one from your homework. 12 3/8%. This is number 9. And we want to express 12 and 3/8% as a decimal. What do you do? First, convert the fraction to a decimal. Convert the fractional part to a decimal. How do we do that? By performing the division. 3/8 is going to be 3 divided by 8. If I can draw a reasonably straight line. 3/8 are 24, 60, 5/8 are 46, 7/8. 7/8 are 56. When we subtract, we see that we have a terminating decimal because 5/8, 5 times 8 is 40. So what we have done is we have used division, long division, to say that 3/8 is equivalent to or is the same as 0.375. You have to do that long division. I'm going to go ahead and erase this work. And now I'm going to rewrite as a decimal percentage. Rewrite. So we have 12.375%. We want to write this number as a decimal. What do? We move our decimal point 2 places to the left. So we have 0.12375, and we drop the percent symbol. So this expression right here, 12,375 10,000s, tens, hundreds, thousands, 100,000s, 12,375 100,000s. This is the decimal representation of 12 and 3/8. We wrote 3/8 as a fraction, so we have, 3/8 as a decimal, so we have 12.378. Converted to a decimal by moving this decimal place 2 spaces to the left, 0.12375. That's all that's involved in writing a percentage as a decimal. So now we want to write a decimal as a percentage. What are we going to do with that? Well, let's go ahead and write our general illustration here. And we're going to use 0.83. That's 83 hundredths. So you can not write it as 88 hundredths, you can write it as 83 hundredths. 83 over 100. And that's the same as 83%, because we have a fraction with a denominator of 100. The numerator is the percentage. Same thing if we have 0.02. How many hundredths is this? This is 2 over 100. So we have 2%. What do we need to do? The opposite of what we did for when we were converting fractions to decimals. What are we going to do? Your book tells us move the decimal point 2 places to the right. We're going to take our decimal point and we're going to move that 2 places to the right. 1, 2. So that becomes 57 with our decimal point at the end. Because there are no digits after this, you drop the decimal point. So we've moved the decimal point, we have 57, and you add the percent symbol. And that is all in the world you have to do to convert decimals to percentages. So if we have 0.09 and 0.4, 0.09, what do? Move the decimal point 2 spaces to the right, which is a 9. Add your percent symbol. And that makes sense as long as you understand. You can automatically check these based on your understanding of percent. 9/100 can be written as a fraction 9/100. Because it's written 9/100, we have 9%. Okay? Now we had 4, 0.4. Let's write that as a percentage. That's 4/10. What do? We take that decimal point and we move it 2 places to the right. Except in this case, we have to add this 0 as a placeholder. What do we have? Now we have 40. We add the percent symbol. And that is all that is involved in converting a decimal to a percentage. You move your decimal point 2 places to the right, and you add the percent symbol. So all that we have to do on this section, go ahead and work on these. Just remember, the biggest thing that I could think of to tell you that might jump out on you is if we are converting 54% to a decimal, when we're converting percents to decimals, you move this decimal point 2 spaces to the left, and you drop the decimal symbol, the percentage symbol. You do not add that on. That is incorrect. This is what will catch you more than anything else. So when you move from a percentage to a decimal, you forget to drop that decimal sign. That's all we've got. I'll see you next week.